to go?
Yes.
Okay. Destiny? And Alyssa, are you ready?
If you don't find happiness, you create it. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. That's a quote by Shakespeare, Hamlet, Act 2. So in 2018, Katarina spoke about happiness, and that quote I feel is similar because the point is to actually create and foster your own happiness. And the speech talks about positive thinking and how that's not the only component, but also taking action within yourself and relationships around you is another piece. So the where and why. This was given at the TEDx Gothenburg conference, like I said, in 2018 in Gothenburg, Sweden, so it wasn't in the US. And I believe it is important because it can show you how you can feel the same way as others. And like I said, finding happiness is something you create and have power over, and a problem can cause a crisis in ourselves, really. And it's hard learning to control, but instead, like I said, controlling our own actions can help cultivate that one thing that we all strive for, which is happiness. So the audience and reactions, I saw that this venue can hold up to 100 people, and it doesn't show what kind of audience there is, but from the topic and what she is saying and the people listening, I believe would be the ones who want to change the way they think about themselves and the situations occurring around them. And I believe they reacted positively because on YouTube it has gotten over 3.8 million views and 74,000 likes. And it appears they like the topic being talked about along with the speaker and how she presents herself. So significance then and now. This was in the US, but it's the mass shooting in Parkland, Florida, which had 17 deaths, and it was one of the deadliest school shootings in the US. And it wasn't in Sweden, but it does affect the entire world because there is shootings all over. And then I saw the hashtag #MeToo movement, which is about sexual abuse and sexual harassment, and the people experiencing this problem publicized it. So I thought that was important. And so relevant today, it was pre-COVID, it was before mental health's upbringing all around the world, and it getting publicized, and before the suicide rate increased by a lot. And I believe she saw the problem in how we think to day-to-day life, and also seeing the negative situations. So rhetorical devices, I have an analogy, and if you would receive a compliment from a coworker and then a complaint from another coworker, these two comments don't neutralize each other. The complaint would definitely leave a stronger emotional mark, so we need to ask ourselves why. So she basically comparing the positive compliment to the complaint, and they don't work together. Like she said, you would be attached to the negative emotion compared to the positive. So Hypophora, why do we have this preparedness to experience unpleasant and negative emotions? And to understand that, we need to understand the context and the environment where our brain has been evolving for so many years. So she gave us an answer on how we use our readiness to our negative emotions, and came back with an answer on how to use our clues around us and our environment. So amplification, the last one, because if I would ask you to keep focus on your breath, don't think about anything else for 5 minutes, I doubt anyone in this room would be able to do that. But if I would ask you to please raise your hand like this for 5 minutes, I think we would all be better able to achieve this. So basically, I chose this because it says if I would ask you twice, and basically focusing on one certain thing for 5 minutes is not the easiest thing to do, but raising your hand is way easier. So then I have my video clip. If it loads, it should.
Research found that happiness doesn't come from wealth, doesn't come from fame or working hard. It comes from relationships. And it's not about the number of friends that you have or whether or not you're in a committed relationship with a partner. They found that it's the quality of the relationship that counts. Being able to be vulnerable, listening, and sharing what's close to your heart. That's what matters. And by now, we know that forming good, healthy habits when it comes to physical training or having a good diet, it takes dedication, it takes commitment. And I think we should approach psychological habits in the same way, and especially when it comes to relationships. Authors found that happiness.
So I chose that clip because it just explains more about relationships and habits you create. So then I have persuasion techniques. I have ethos. She is credible, I believe, because she is a certified psychologist. She went through schooling, and along in the beginning of the speech, she does talk about how she broke up with a person who she thought she was going to be with forever, and she had no job and no place to live. So for logos, she had many studies, but I chose a diary study, which she talked about by Teresa Ambill. She is a professor at Harvard, and she gets people's diaries to see how they experience everyday life. And then for pathos, I use having a conversation with your boss or your manager and getting lots of good feedback on how you do your work, but then also getting negative feedback with things to improve on, and also comparing exercising and eating and relationships. So Katarina Blom, importance, she was a nominated speaker in 2016 and 2019. She is a co-founder of Habitude, which is Sweden's psychological gym. It's basically like a gym for the mind. You just do a lot of habits, learning, leadership activities, and like I said before, she is a psychologist. And so the purpose, I didn't talk about it much, but there was a lot of science and research also involved. And like I said, happiness is a skill to work on and achieve whether you don't have it or you do. And well-being is built on action you take, not thinking. So accomplished. She gave us the opportunity and mindset to change thinking about ourselves and help control and create, like I said, our own emotions. So why it will endure, it'll always be relevant to human life. Our own happiness is something we want or already have, and this is a human emotion that everyone can feel. We all strive for it, even if we have it or don't. Things that might be going on now or things in the past, we all feel happiness whenever, and helping each other through that hardship and keeping relationships is very important. So thank you for listening to my speech.